Hello, Glisty fans, it's me, and today I'm going to be essentially giving 5 reasons why I think Rec Room shut down. Now, what this video is supposed to be is a respectful, essentially list of things and reasons why I personally think Rec Room shut down. Yeah, let's get into reason number 1. Okay, so reason number 1 is the AI slop. There was just this really big point where they started putting a bunch of AI slop into the game. I think you remember some of these features. Maker AI, Broomy. Broomy wasn't a bad update, but still, so much so to where AI started to become kind of forced upon the people. After a while, they did eventually discontinue things like Maker AI, but it still didn't fit. Oh my god, my hat is broken. Okay, anyway, that still didn't really fix any of the fact that it had ruined the game in a way. And yeah, so let me give you an example. So God. So I'm currently in a game called Vegas Infinite. You probably know what it is. Unless you're living under a rock, you probably know what Vegas Infinite is. I'd be really surprised if by now you didn't. It's one of the most popular VR social games, especially on the PlayStation VR, because it's one of the few PSVR 2 social games. Actually, one of the only PSVR 2 social games that's free and does not require PS Plus. That's why I'm recording it. If this stupid lighter will not shut up. Anyway, so yeah, and Rec Room had spent a ton of money on AI this, AI that, AI the third, AI whatever, and it just came to a point where people couldn't handle it anymore. And yeah, so I don't know. Also, I can cluck like a chicken, so that's cool. Anyway, so now on to reason number 2. Reason number 2 is layoffs. Sometime between 2024 and 2025, Rec Room had made a bunch of layoffs and pretty much fired a bunch of useful people that helped work on the game. A good example of this is when they fired Harry Manlegs. I think Harry Manlegs made a video on this. If not, you can check the link down in the description. Oh my god, my stupid hat. I'm not gonna wear this hat anymore because it keeps breaking. This looks better on me anyway. Let me do the controller trick to show you guys that it just does not work in Vegas. Well, it kind of works actually. That's odd. Okay. I guess it's because Vegas Infinite isn't really for children. So body proportions and body scale isn't really designed for that use. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, oh my god. Okay, I had to fix my tracking. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, Harry Manlegs is one of the many people fired during this, and I get why they had to fire a lot of people, but you have a lot of these people were actually bug fixers. Something I can actually compare this to is when a game called Blox World, I doubt a lot of you guys even know what that game is, and Yeah, if you don't, I'm just old. I'm just old, man. Anyway, this reminds me of a situation when Blox World, that game, barely, I highly doubt most of you guys even know what that game is. But pretty much, sometime in around, the game shut down, I think in 2019 or 2018, but yeah, sometime between 2016 and 2017, Blox World laid off a bunch of people, and those people that they laid off was their mod and bug fix team. So when you logged in in the app during that time before the game shut down, there'd like be errors almost all the time, like error 444. Error 404 was a very common error. Yeah, and like, yeah, so that also led to a lot of bugs in Rec Room, like error summer code, which was weird, or error could not initialize Steam platform, which is pretty much an error that you get if you're like on Steam or Steam VR, where Steam is not open to any caliber and you're stuck on this weird loading screen. Yeah, the so yeah. Number three is, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons: failure to adapt to the VR market. You have to remember, back when Rec Room started, Rec Room looked like this, and also the only VR headsets that were available to the public were HTC Vive's PlayStation VR 1s, which is apparently, according to a lot of rumors online, is actually getting deprecated and ending support in late 2026. So RIP to the PSVR 1. You have done us 10 years of good service. I'm not sure if these are true, but if they are, rest in peace PlayStation VR 1. You have done us a tremendous 10 years of service. Let us have a moment of silence for the PSVR 1. Okay, so yeah, taking that into account, yeah, so the reason why the Rec Room avatars look the way they did, where you know, like, it's the head, and like, I'm playing Vegas Infinite. Vegas Infinite has arms. That's mostly because of like tracking support for the PlayStation VR 2 and like newer headsets before then. But back then, VR was in its very primary state, and like VR could track head, VR could track hands, but like VR could not track all. You can't see it obviously, but like I'm lifting my legs up and like pointing to my leg. You can't. I'll probably just like draw it on screen for you, or at least try to show you my leg. Anyway, VR could not like track all that, and so what they did was just have a head and like have a torso and just disinclude everything else, and so it could simulate and if people used like their imagination or whatever, people could like essentially try to simulate or make out for themselves like joint movements, or like just try to make that out for themselves, pretty much. Which was fine in the early stages of VR, but like VR was adapting at this point, so they tried to experiment with the full body avatars. A lot of people say the full body avatars were a reason why Rec Room shut down. I, for one, think not, and if you hear anyone online say that, it's false rumors, because like I personally think that the full body avatars was just a free upgrade to something that we oh so desperately needed in the game for a very long Oh god, it could actually track my coughing. Look, this is what I'm doing in real life. It gonna crack my coffee. Cool. But yeah, full body avatars were more of just a free, optional upgrade, and that's personally one of the things that I think people forgot. Like, full body avatars were not forced. You didn't have to use them. Against Gravity did not force you to use them. Like, you didn't have to use them if you didn't want to. And if you didn't want to, then just don't use full body avatars. Like, yeah, a lot of people make out the argument that Rec Room was trying to disinclude their older players. Yeah. Which, once more, completely false. Yeah, no, completely false. Yeah, no. Number 4. Failure to adapt with the PlayStation market. As you know, as I said earlier in reason number 3 on this list, you can rewind it if you missed that part. But I said, quote, Rec Room started when the only headsets that were publicly available were the HTC Vive and the PlayStation VR. And the PSVR 1. My assistant activated, so I'm really sorry for that. I'll probably just cut that out. Anyway. So, yeah. Actually, one of the release games was actually supposed to be Rec Room. Like, one of the main PSVR 2 launch titles was supposed to be Rec Room. If you, so, yeah, Rec Room, but, like, Rec Room didn't really strike that deal with Sony, and, like, I guess they downed their offer, and, yes, they just kind of disagreed with the offer, and because Rec Room never ported to the PSVR 2, that's why people have to deal with paying for a yearly or monthly subscription on some flippin' pixelated monkey game just to talk to their friend. Oh god. Anyway. So yeah, that's why now, because Rec Room never ported to the PSVR 2, that's why for a very long time during 2024, us PlayStation VR users had to be forced to purchase PlayStation Plus just to play a game with pixelated monkeys with 0 legs that is usually being controlled by toxic 5-year-olds saying slurs. Yeah, no, I'll probably make a different video on why the G-Tech community is very iffy, if you could say that, but yeah, no. Another thing to keep in mind is that PlayStation VR 2 has no backwards compatibility for the PlayStation VR 1 games, or at least some form, which is kind of sad. I mean, I kind of get why. This is a PlayStation VR 2 controller compared to the controllers that were on PSVR 1. I think it would be pretty hard to emulate this properly, and I completely get that, to be honest. Like, I completely get that. It's not really easy. It wouldn't be easy, especially, oh my god, especially if you're talking in like a developer standpoint, that would not be very easy or really wantable to like port completely different controllers from one another to like, it just wouldn't be worth it. So they just didn't port, which once more is kind of sad because, yeah. And number 5, the biggest reason of all for why Rec Room shut down on June 1st, 2026 is failure to listen to its community / false advertising. One of the early examples of this early examples of this failure to listen to the community / false advertising is actually with a game called Punch Up. Punch Up was supposed to be one of the very early demo games. Remember back when Rec Room looked like this still. So yeah, that was supposed to be one of the very early demo games for the Rec Room port. Because maybe they didn't have time to make it, maybe they decided they didn't want to do it, but they made so many posters for Punch Up. Punch Up was pretty much everywhere. It was impossible at the time not to see a poster for Punch Up. It was like, Punch Up coming soon to Rec Room. Punch Up, play Punch Up when it comes out. Punch Up is gonna be the new hit RRO. The only thing of Punch Up, or even leaked footage of Punch Up we got, is a video that I'm not allowed to show you for copyright reasons, of just these Rec Room avatars with little spear balls that hit each other, and there's no out system. In other words, it was very broken. Oh god, speaking of broken, I'm able to wear 2 rings, which is not normally possible. It's probably a glitch. Oh dear. Yeah, this is a glitch. They probably need to fix. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, an instance of failure to another instance, which is a more recent instance of failure to listen to the community, is making more Quest. The final, and for a while, Rec Room just told us for a while, Rec Room told us to just make our own quest. Use the maker pen, make our own quest. People did not want to do that. People just wanted to play a quest. What if you just didn't know CB2 or CB1? Or, you didn't know any kind of, chip scripting, or you didn't know Rec Room scripting at all, and, you didn't have, time within your day in order to make a Rec Room quest. And so they did eventually give us a new quest, I could say. But the last technical quest they gave us was Make It to Midnight, which technically counts as a quest because it has all the things that would make a quest, I guess. So you had something to run away from, objectives, and I guess you could count Make It to Midnight as a quest. Mind you, that released about 3 years ago in 2023, meaning that before this point, we had not got a quest in 4 years. Maybe 3 years. About 4 or 3 years, we did not get a quest, which was stupid. Because, Why? Just why? I guess, and that could also rely, I guess, or jump into today's bonus reason. Over-reliance on UGC. Rec Room relied heavily on its UGC creation community, which there's nothing wrong with that. There have been some very creative people on Rec Room, and I can most certainly say that. But there felt like a point, especially in late Rec Room, where it just felt like they were relying way too much on the UGC Creation Studio, which wasn't that good, because for the same reasons I said earlier, sometimes people just don't have the time within their day to make a quest. Sometimes people just don't feel like going through all that effort. And yeah, this was especially prominent when they released this is especially prominent when they released UGC shirts, which I think was a Rec Room Plus feature at one point, but then they opened it to everyone once it was out of beta, and also when it supported full body avatars. But yeah, and like, if you played during this era of Rec Room, you already know how bad and horrible it was. I don't even have to explain this one, but I guess if I do, I will. So, what happens is that people started making a bunch of those weird, freaky shirts. Okay, I'll give you an example of this. Do you remember how in Roblox there is this problem of people naming shirts that have like weird torso, man or female parts, and naming them something like abs or muscles or something like that? That's essentially what was going on in Rec Room for 2 years until they finally made moderation for it, because guess what could easily be made inappropriatized because it was more human? Full body avatars. And like, yeah, so I don't know. I'm going to end today's video on one simple note. Once more, I miss Rec Room. I miss Rec Room as much as the most person. I wasn't necessarily playing Rec Room, but I was very aware of what the game was around the time it looked like this. I didn't start playing until around the time they made the new rec center, so I think that was like 2018, 2019 when I actually started to like play on my little Android tablet or whatever. But yeah, so I will end on one final note. Rec Room was a good game, but despite a good game does not mean it did not have its problems. Either that was for safety, which it was very rare. Like, I'm not saying things like that didn't happen, but it was very rare to see something like child got by some random 25-year-old adult on Rec Room. It was very rare and uncommon to see stuff like that happening within Rec Room. It wasn't that prevalent. There was that one situation where it was like this weird Rec Room military group with like the owner doing some weird stuff to his, like, he was 18 and like doing things to his like 16-year-old girlfriend on Rec Room. But like, just for the sake of not getting demonetized, let's just not talk about that today or ever, please. So, yeah, now that Rec Room shut down, I just hope you can remember Rec Room for the good things and for the happy memories that it gave many kids when it launched on the first VR headsets. So long ago. And I also hope that you can remember Rec Room for the same happiness as per many Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids remembered Rec Room for. So, as a final note, goodbye Rec Room University, and thank you to everything you've given us.